this is a team of likable guys. It looks like this is a team of guys that like each other, which is also nice. And again, the bottom line is, most importantly, they are a Bill Self team. They are Bill Self players. Pay heed, all who enter, and beware of this podcast. That's right. This is the Pay Heed podcast on the Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Nick Springer, flying solo for today's show. Kevin Flaherty is enjoying some time off and spending some time with his family. And hopefully you're doing the same on this Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Recording this immediately following Wednesday night's victory for Kansas basketball over Tennessee at the Players Era. KU finishes third place at the Players Era. They earned $300,000 by beating Tennessee 81-76. We're going to recap that and the rest of the Players Era's tournament, some of the takeaways from this Thanksgiving tournament for KU, and where things go from here. And of course, if you haven't already, you should be subscribed on Apple and Spotify on audio, and also on YouTube at Kansas Jayhawks KCSN, where you should be liking the video, leaving a comment, sharing your thoughts, and being subscribed. We are going to be live on our YouTube channel at Kansas Jayhawks KCSN on Friday. If you're listening to this on Thursday, that'd be tomorrow, for KU football after their game against Utah. We'll also be live for KU and UConn post game next Tuesday night. That'll be the next big game for Kansas coming up, but I'll have plenty of time to preview that. First and foremost, folks, we may have a Kansas basketball team in Lawrence. KU looks like what we expect to see from KU under Bill Self. This is a Bill Self team. And we talked about in the offseason, Kansas looked to build a team that felt like they more had guys for fit, guys that were going to play with Bill Self and play in his system. And that was on full display tonight against Tennessee. That was by far the biggest thing that I took away from this game, and specifically against Tennessee, is, man, it just feels like 2024 version of Kansas would have absolutely crumbled in this game and ended up losing by 10 to 15 points. But this team has some dogs. They have some guys. They have playmakers. Starts with Melvin Counsell, who was phenomenal in this game. Now, Marco Jackson having a career-high performance when KU needed it most, helping KU get this win. Even Jamari McDowell had a fantastic tournament in all three games, ended up hitting a couple clutch threes in this game as well for Kansas to beat Tennessee. But wow, what a performance for Kansas, not just tonight, but really over the course of this entire Players Era tournament. Very, very impressive stuff from the Jayhawks, and it feels like KU may have a team. Overall, I think this was a very, very positive tournament for Kansas. How could it not be with how it ended up finishing with the win over Tennessee? They beat Notre Dame 71-61. Then they beat Syracuse 71-60. Then, of course, they beat Kansas. By the way, the Players Era format doesn't really make any sense. It kind of sucks. It was impossible to really make heads or tails of what the hell was going on. Iowa State ends up only winning a game by 18, which cost them a chance to play in this game, and that's why Kansas got into the third place game against Tennessee. Yeah, they've got to work on that. And the Big 12 is going to be a part of it. Presumably that means Kansas will be a part of it. They Big 12 signed a multi-year deal to get some ownership stake in the Players Era, so you can expect to see a lot more of Big 12 in this tournament, which I would assume means Kansas, considering Kansas is the Big 12's biggest brand at this point. So you would expect to see a lot more of KU in this tournament, but hopefully going forward, they make the format a lot more simple. I don't really understand why we can't just do a bracket or do something that is way more simple than this whole point differential plus like ranking plus like, I don't know. It was that part of it was very messy. Very, very messy. But overall, again, a very impressive tournament for Kansas. No Darren Peterson from the very beginning of this tournament, which I think was probably the right thing to do. When you look at KU's schedule, they're about to have a stretch coming up where they're going to play UConn at Allen Fieldhouse, followed by Missouri and Kansas City. They're also going to play at NC State. You want Darren Peterson healthy, right? And I think this makes sense for him to go ahead and just not play in this tournament. In the back of my mind, I was always thinking, because you knew you were going to be playing 3 games in 3 days, I just don't know how much it would really made sense to try to get him to play. And so you knew you were not going to have him for the entire tournament. Then Jaden Dawson gets hurt in warmups, it seemed like, for the Notre Dame game, ends up only playing 4 minutes and then was out for the remainder of the tournament, seemingly got hurt trying to dunk in warmups. That was a bit unfortunate. So I can't say that that's great from the injury perspective with him. And then obviously with Darren Peterson being out, but man, Kansas really, really showed their mettle over the course of this tournament. Flory Badunga was really strong against Notre Dame and Syracuse. 18-9 against Notre Dame, 13-14 with a double-double against Syracuse. And then against Tennessee tonight, he was forcing quite a bit. He was pretty inefficient. He finished the game 5 of 15 from the floor. He had a couple shots blocked at the rim. It seems like he still is working on how to play against bigger bigs, which is what Tennessee presented him tonight. But one thing is, we did not see Flory being a post-up guy at all the entire year, his freshman season. So the fact that he's able to showcase that a little bit, obviously tonight it wasn't overly successful, but just the fact that he can do it, I think, is a step forward. But man, he still makes great plays. The other negative is I don't really want to see him having the ball as much on the perimeter, I would say, and dribbling as much. He had 7 turnovers in the game against Syracuse. Don't really love that, but overall, he's really stepped up and was exactly what I think KU fans were hoping him to be when he decided to come back to KU, which, by the way, there was a really funny moment after the Syracuse game where the TNT broadcast had Bill Self at the desk asking him questions, and Bruce Pearl was there, and he was talking about Flory, and it was like hilarious because it's like, okay, well, Bruce Pearl was the guy that was trying to recruit Flory away from Kansas before he came back, and so it made for kind of a little bit of a funny moment, funny interaction there, I thought, between Bill Self and the crew at the desk with Bruce Pearl being there. But yeah, man, Flory has really stepped up and has been, I think, what KU fans were hoping him to be. And again, even in a game like this where he wasn't as efficient, he still ends up with 13 points, 7 rebounds, 3 of 4 at the line, hit a couple clutch free throws late in the game to help ice it for Kansas. Kansas, by the way, as a team, was just phenomenal from the line against Tennessee. 26 of 30 from the line for KU. They were really good from the line pretty much the entire tournament. They went 9 of 13 against Notre Dame. Against Syracuse, they were 18 of 20. And then 26 of 30 against Tennessee. Huge bonus. And this is a Kansas team that in 2024 was bottom 5 in the country in getting to the free throw line. Now, some of that had to do with the fact that I think Hunter Dickinson just got fouled all the time and it was never called. But that being said, this iteration of Kansas feels like they are much more capable of getting to the line with guys like Trey White, with Flory being able to post up and maybe draw some fouls, with Melvin Council doing what he does, flying to the rim and drawing fouls and scoring. So that's something that's a really big positive for this team as well. And speaking of Trey White, really, really good player as well. The savvy veteran that Kansas needs. But man, against Tennessee, a couple really boneheaded plays. The one thing is, Trey White goes out with 2 fouls at the end of the first half with about 4:15 left in the half. Kansas was down 1 at the time. Tennessee ends up going on a big run. They end up going into halftime up 7, and it's like, oh, man, you would love to see Bill Self maybe trust a guy like Trey White a little bit more in that situation to play with 2 fouls late in the half, because it felt like Kansas kind of let the game get away from them for a little bit during that stretch. But then Bill Self plays Trey White to start the second half. He picks up the 3rd foul immediately, and then he has one of the most boneheaded plays I've ever seen to pick up his 4th with like 17 minutes left in the game on a foul on a breakaway by Tennessee that he should have just given up the easy 2. And so that was one of the most head-scratching plays I think I've seen from any basketball player, truthfully, in quite a long time at the college level. And they ends up fouling out of this game, but that opened the door for some of these other Kansas players to step up. And this goes back to that aspect of this Kansas team being Bill Self players. It just felt different, really, the entire second half of this game, with Jamari McDowell making huge plays, with Elmarko Jackson basically single-handedly bringing Kansas back into the game with an 8-0 run. He had a couple threes. He finished the game with 17 points. He was 7 of 7 from the line with 4 rebounds. I really hope this is the game that does unlock Elmarko Jackson, because that would be so significant for Kansas if they can get that level of play from him, to see him step up. Kevin and I have had this discussion, and I'll have a chance to talk about this with Kevin more when we talk later this weekend. But man, if Elmarko Jackson can get unlocked, that would be incredible, because even I was starting to lose faith in him a little bit and in what he can be. It just didn't feel like things were quite clicking for him. And even in this game against Tennessee, he still had a couple plays where it was like, man, there was a really bad pass at the end of the first half that led to a Tennessee dunk that really hurt Kansas at that time. But an incredible second half from him. Certainly his best game in a Jayhawk uniform, and when Kansas needed it the most. They don't win this game without Elmarko Jackson. And then Jamari McDowell just so solid throughout the entirety of this tournament in Las Vegas. Ever since Jaden Dawson went out, he's been stepping up and just playing his role, right? I mean, he's not jumping off this stat sheet with what he's doing. He finished with 7 points, but he goes 2 of 3 from 3 against Tennessee. He hit a couple threes as well against Syracuse, and he hit 1-3, I think, as well against 1-3 against Notre Dame. So making shots from the perimeter, playing tough defense. He was one of maybe arguably KU's better defenders tonight against Tennessee. Really, really strong performance for him. And if he can enter into that Bill Self circle of trust and become another one of those guys that is trusted on the wing, that would be a big boon, because Cole Rosario, it just feels like it's going to take some more time for him. It feels like he needs more time to integrate in. And so having the ability to start Jamar McDowell these last 2 games of the Players era on Tuesday and tonight against Tennessee was so huge, because Cole Rosario feels like he's maybe a step or two away from being what I think KU fans hope for him to be. But I'm still really, really excited about Cole Rosario. I'm still bullish on Cole Rosario, no question about it. But it feels like it may take him a little bit more time. He has the 1-3 tonight, but it was banked in. So it's kind of like, he banks it in. So, with Rosario, need a little bit more time. But with Jamari, Jamari's exactly – the thing about Jamari is he's exactly what I think a lot of KU fans have been begging for, which is a program guy, a guy who sticks around and grows in the KU program, right? And that's obviously so rare in this day and age of college basketball with NIL and the transfer portal. But he's stuck around, and here he is, in his 3rd season, and he's looks like a guy that maybe can be relied upon as a trusted pair of hands off the bench for Kansas. And so that would be really nice, because that obviously is going to take some pressure off Cole Rosario. And in the short term, it's going to help as long as Jaden Dawson potentially could be out. But also, whenever Dawson is ready to come back in, it takes some pressure off him too if you have McDowell playing well also. So, and then the other big thing is Bryson Tiller, who just continues to be so impressive. He's so smooth. He looks really, really good. He didn't do anything too crazy tonight against Tennessee, but he hit 4-4 from the free throw line. But without a doubt, the starting lineup for Kansas, once Darren Peterson comes back, should be Flory with Tiller and Trey White at the 3 and Council and Peterson. Like, there's just no doubt about it. That should be the starting lineup. He's absolutely earned that. He really, really looks so talented. And again, Bill Self's been saying it. I guess we just weren't listening enough to what he was saying. So yeah, he's been really, really good. That needs to be the starting lineup for Kansas going forward once Darren Peterson comes back, because he's just been very, very impressive as well. So this was a really, really impressive run for Kansas at the Players era. Notre Dame and Syracuse, I don't know how good they are. Notre Dame actually hung around quite a bit with Houston. Syracuse also played Houston really close. I'm beginning to wonder if Houston maybe just isn't as good as advertised in terms of being a top 5 team. We'll see. But obviously Tennessee is certainly a top 20, top 15 type team. And to win a game in a gutsy fashion like this for Kansas, so huge, especially without Darren Peterson, obviously. Let's talk a little bit more about what I saw from the Players era, some more takeaways, do all that coming up next.
Missouri, big news. It's almost your turn to get in the game, because DraftKings Sportsbook is coming to the Show Me State on December 1st. Soon you'll get fast payouts when you win, a safe and secure app that's easy to use, and promos that keep the action going all season long. No wonder it's America's top-rated sportsbook app. The countdown is on. New customers can sign up right now and score $300 in bonus bets on launch day. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KCSN. New Missouri customers sign up today and score $300 in bonus bets once we're live. That's code KCSN. The crown is yours. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply, subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Bonus bets are not withdrawable and expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is the Paid Podcast on the Kansas City Sports Network. We're brought to you by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible, member FDIC. I'm Nick Springer, flying solo on tonight's episode with Kevin Flaherty, enjoying his family. And hopefully you are enjoying your family as well. Hopefully you are enjoying a happy Thanksgiving. And I'm sure you are after tonight's performance for Kansas, getting the win over Tennessee 81-76 to go 3-0 at the Players Era Festival in Las Vegas. If you have not already, please go ahead and subscribe on Apple and Spotify. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. And if you're on YouTube, you should like the video and you should share a comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Kansas Jayhawks KCSN, because we're going to be live on Friday afternoon for KU football's final game against Utah in the regular season. It's 11 a.m. kick, Black Friday. Kevin and I will be live from David with Kansas Memorial Stadium for the last time this season, around 2:45, between 2:30, 2:45, about 15 minutes or so after the conclusion of the game. You can expect us to be live, and you can find us over on our YouTube channel at Kansas Jayhawks KCSN. And the best way to know when we go live is to subscribe. We're also planning on being live after the KU UConn game on the basketball court at Allen Fieldhouse on Tuesday evening. So again, please subscribe, like the video, and share a comment. Join in on the conversation. Continuing from the first segment, just really, again, an extremely impressive win for Kansas here tonight against Tennessee, 81-76. The Jayhawks showed a ton of guts in this game. And again, this feels like a true Bill Self team. And this is exactly what was missing from this team, I think, a year ago. And maybe you can go back to 2023, but just incredible determination from Kansas tonight against Tennessee. And you love to see it. And really, maybe it shouldn't shock you, because Melvin Council, he made Tennessee look like dog food tonight. Very impressive performance for him. And the fact that Kansas was able to overcome foul trouble was also so impressive. I mean, Trey White fouls out. Bryson Tiller also has 4 fouls. And that's one aspect, I think, of Floyd Badunga that in this 3-game stretch was also very impressive from Badunga. He had 1 foul tonight. He had 2 fouls against Syracuse, and he had 1 foul against Notre Dame. So over 3 games, how many fouls is that? 6 fouls in 3 games for Floyd Badunga. That's very, very good to see from him, because that was sort of an issue for him earlier in the season. And that obviously, I think, is the biggest hiccup for him going forward, is playing hard, playing aggressive, playing his style of basketball without fouling. And he was able to do that at this tournament at the Players Era. Very, very good stuff there from Flory as well. And he's, again, turned into the player that KU fans hoped he would be. But yeah, this is a team that is really well assembled of Bill Self guys. And Kevin and I had that conversation all offseason about, you need to shift your mindset if you're Kansas in the transfer portal. It was pretty clear that in this new era, the initial mindset of Kansas and Bill Self and the staff was to, just go get the best players in the portal. Go get who we think are the best players in the portal, and we'll make it fit. We'll make it work. Well, that obviously did not work for Kansas for the past couple seasons. Whereas this year, it felt like the approach was different, was a much more measured approach of, let's do a little bit more scouting and find guys that are Bill Self guys that are going to fit over basically, this guy averaged the most points per game or whatever at a previous stop. Find guys that are going to fit. And boy, have they. I mean, Melvin Council, Trey White, 2 A+ gets automatically right away out of the transfer portal. You add in Bryson Tiller, who's been really, really good. Flory, obviously, again, coming back out of the transfer portal, who was going to leave. It comes back. Obviously been fantastic, as I just mentioned, as well. But yeah, this was a true vintage Bill Self Kansas team type of win against Tennessee. So really, really good stuff for KU. They're now 6-2 and certainly going to be back in the top 25 after they fell out at the start of this week. but 3 really strong wins, of course, including the Tennessee win. Very, very impressive stuff. As it pertains to Marco Jackson, like I said earlier in the show, if this is something that unlocks him and gets him going, boy, what a redemption arc that would be. What a story that would be for a guy that I think in the eyes of a lot of KU fans was kind of just dead and buried. I mean, I think, for me at least, the thought process was, his freshman season, a lot of expectations have been put on him to perform at a high level, obviously being a McDonald's All-American, and the game was just too fast for him. It just was too fast for him to start his career. Then heading into the sophomore season, you hear about, hey, he's looking pretty good. He's playing well in the summer, and then boom, off-season injury ends his sophomore season. And early this year, it seemed like he was dealing with a lot of the same issues that he dealt with as a freshman, which was things looked too fast for him. It looked like he was thinking a little bit too much. But in this game, it just unlocked for him. And I think probably some of that had to do with the fact that he was able to just go play a little bit more instinctually, I think, in this game. I think that was kind of what I noticed from him is he wasn't playing so much thinking. He's obviously at his best when he's just playing instead of thinking, which I think is what he got a little bit more into in this game. And that really showed, hitting a couple threes, getting to the rim, making some really tough layups. There was one where it looked like he certainly got fouled, but it wasn't called, and he made the layup. So, yeah, if he can continue that, and if this is sort of the start of his redemption arc, that would be so significant. And the other aspect of that, I think that would really help with him, becoming that type of player is once Darren Peterson comes back, he'll be your primary ball handler. We've seen Melvin Council be KU's basically primary ball handler in the absence of Darren Peterson. But I think because of that, Melvin Council's inefficiency has been noted because of the fact that I think he's having to handle the ball as well. So if he's handling the ball less, I actually think that'll also make Melvin Council a lot better too. So if you're able to get Marco Jackson to be that other guy that can handle the ball and play well, that's going to help Melvin Council a lot as well. And so I think it can only be better if Marco Jackson is unlocked and steps into a much more comfortable role for him. So really, really great to see. Really, really happy to see for him. And then Paul Mbia also got into the game because of the foul trouble due to with Tiller and Trey White, and he ends up making one basket. He still seems like he's a ways away from being a guy that KU can legitimately trust off the bench, but good to see at least. I think in the very, very limited time that he was out there, he played a total of 3 minutes, gets the one basket, didn't do anything else, but he's just a freak of nature on the court when you see him. So if he can just get more comfortable as well. But yeah, biggest takeaways from this tournament and specifically from this game against Tennessee. This is a Bill Self team, guys. This is a Bill Self team. This is a team of players that are Bill Self guys. And that was fully on display against Tennessee in a game where you needed some gutsy performances from some of your role players, from some of your guys who wouldn't even be considered role players, like Jamari McDowell and Marco Jackson, right? So very, very, very impressive stuff from Kansas, and a huge win. Big way to cap out the Players era. They're going to have some time off before they come back to play UConn at Allen Fieldhouse. And again, I am under the impression that I think Darren Peterson might be back for UConn. I guess we'll see what Bill Self has to say about it, but you get him back and let's roll, right? I mean, let's roll, because this looks like a team that is definitely built, especially with Darren Peterson on the floor, to be a real contender. I mean, if you get the same level of play out of Floyd Badunga, if you get Bryson Tiller continuing to excel, if you get Darren Peterson back, that's going to free things up for probably guys like Trey White, Melvin Council to do their thing. And then you add in a Marco Jackson, and you add in potentially Jaden Dawson. Jamar McDowell suddenly looks like he can be a trusted guy off the bench. Like, this is a Bill Self team. This is a Bill Self team, one that I think KU fans are going to be excited about. And I think just beyond that, because of the fact that it is a Bill Self team, I think it's going to be a lot easier for fans to connect and root for some of these guys. You think about sort of the end of the career for DeJuan Harris, Hunter Dickinson, obviously guys that were just a bit more divisive for whatever reason among the fan base. This team doesn't really have that. I mean, I think this team is full of guys that people can really fully get behind, right? Which I think is going to help with fan support. I mean, how could you not watch Melvin Council and just love him? How could you not watch Trey White and really like what he brings to the court? How could you not watch Bryson Tiller and see, and want to root for him? So it looks like this is a team of likable guys. It looks like this is a team of guys that like each other, which is also nice. And again, the bottom line is, most importantly, they are a Bill Self team. They are Bill Self players. So probably going to do it for this edition of the show. A shorter show, really just myself kind of recapping this players era. I'm going to be back with Kevin Flaherty. We're going to be back on Friday afternoon to do live post game from David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium for KU and Utah. We'll talk with Kevin again over the weekend to get some of his thoughts on the players era and what we saw, and we'll preview UConn coming up next Tuesday. And then, of course, we plan on being live Tuesday night after KU and UConn down Fieldhouse as well. So tons of great content coming your way this weekend. But again, most importantly, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy some time with your family. Enjoy some time over the weekend. And really enjoy this KU win and look forward to a big game against UConn. Hopefully, we'll hear from a lot of you guys for the KU Utah football game. I know it's been kind of a down year for KU football, but last game of the season for them in the regular season, last game at the booth for a lot of seniors that have been a significant part of KU football building to what they are now, which is a team that has higher expectations, which is, I think, what you really could have asked for with a lot of those guys coming in. So we'll be live. Kevin and I will be live on Friday after KU and Utah. We will be talking to you again over the weekend with more discussion from the players era, as well as Kevin's thoughts and previewing UConn. And then we look forward to talking to you live again on Tuesday night after KU and UConn. I get the sense this is going to be a fun basketball season, and I hope KU fans feel the same way. And if so, come join us and be a part of it with us. Subscribe, Apple, Spotify, and on our YouTube channel at Kansas Jayhawks, KCSN. Big win for Kansas tonight at the players era. They go 3-0, 81-76. They beat Tennessee. And until next time, I'm Nick Springer. I'll talk to you again soon. See ya.